Hey, glad you can make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
Pretty good. I think the podcast started. Heard me taking a sip from world's homemade best dad mug, so it's official. Got the mug to prove it with the kid's birth date on it. So there you go. There you go. We were in the thick of it this weekend, JT. People don't know this. We were supposed to meet up and have a game night, and then my son turns out didn't get hand, foot, and mouth, but coincidentally at the same time hand, foot, mouth outbreak in his class. He has a rash. The rash finally went away today.
Hmm.
But he's been itching up every 2 hours all through the night. And we had to talk with our wife. I'm like, he has every symptom of hand, foot, and mouth, but not like the rash on his hand, feet, or mouth. But like, he's waking up every 2 hours. He's crying. I'm like, that's like everything to do with that, except the rash in certain areas. But like, he is clearly bothered by this for multiple days.
Mm-hmm.
So, then the older boy was like, "I'm itchy." Yesterday, I was like, "Don't you dare! Don't don't even start." And then he was like, "I think he got bit by a bug." And I was like, "Okay." As weird as it sounds, a bug is in the house. I'm like, that's fine. Just don't be hand, foot, whatever the rash the other one has. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're officially healthy all tomorrow. Everybody's going. We're good. But yeah, that was our weekend. Was hunker down and get over, just goodness of what the kids bring. And we talked about this in our text, JT. But when those kids go from classes where some kids are crawling and not everybody's walking, that's where they bring the good stuff. That's where everything on the floor, in the mouth, all the goodies come in. Once the kids start standing up, less that stuff. But as long as we still got one kid of the bunch that's on the hands and the feet, or he's not, but some other kids in his class are, and then they touch each other.
As is like kids he associates with, yeah.
Yeah.
The floor
So,
crawlers.
this class is his last class. So when he gets bumped up, everybody will be walking, running, doing all that jazz. So I cannot wait because I'm tired of the hand, foot, and mouth stuff. How much he's crazy getting sick because all the stuff on the floor is super great. Like, I can't wait for the day where I'm looking at milestones of my kids, and it's never like, obviously it's like, oh, when you walk and stuff, but it's like, when do you get out of this illness? When does it like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I can't wait. Like, when are diapers done? When are we doing this? And like, yeah, like we're on the little potty, then we're on the big potty. Like, oh yeah, like the milestones that everybody sees on TV of all those are important, but I look forward to the other stuff. When are we not going to the diaper aisle at Costco? When are we doing this? So get in the next class. Get in the next class. Stand up on your feet, everybody. Let's go.
Right.
Can't wait.
It's
What about you? What was your weekend? Less hand, foot, and mouth?
right. I was just thinking milestones. What are we working on? The oldest cutting an apple by himself. Life
There you
skills.
go.
He can already make top ramen, and I think he's ready for making mac and cheese on his own. There's only 2 extra steps other than ramen. So
I've told the story on the podcast before where me and my roommate, our buddy in college, destroyed mac and cheese in college, ruined it, and it's water, the noodles that are already in it, and the cheese that is already in it, and we ruined it. So he had us beat, and we were in college, so we made mac and cheese before, but we both screwed it up at the same time, so that was embarrassing. But we were both 19, and your son has us beat.
it's good. It's been a while since we were able to record. Tried recording once and it didn't work out, but I don't know. Did had a holiday party, hosted a holiday party that was fun. We did like Family Feud, and basketball just wrapped up for the youngest. The oldest basketball starts beginning of the new year. Got a coaches meeting this week. I think we're gonna deal with 28.5-inch basketball and a 9-foot hoop. I think so. This is 3rd and 4th grade, and I think they're ready for a couple basic like plays, some sets. Like
Okay, screens, pick and roll.
yeah, because last year was 1st, 2nd. It was like, okay, let's get the basics. Just kind of give and go, pass, 5-man. Just kind of learn how to be a good defender between your man and the basket. But I feel like third and fourth, I'm just like, let's get a couple sets going. So kind of interested to see how that will pan out.
I have a question for you. Do you do Elf on the Shelf?
No.
Oh, okay.
How about you guys?
Okay. We do. So did I tell him? I don't think we recorded for a while. We brought Elf on the Shelf out. First day he had was on a little plane and landed in the Christmas tree. And why I bring this up was we talked on the podcast how my first had a 70 arm strength and a 20 accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that Elf on the Shelf, they're supposed to be like, you're not supposed to touch them. They're magical. The kids can't touch them. And so they were playing. The elf lasted about 20 minutes of that day on the tree because the youngest, when we say the oldest had a 70 arm strength, the youngest might have an 85 arm strength, but an accuracy of 7. Like a pillow went flying and jacked up the tree, and the elf goes down.
Yeah.
He's like hammer tossing, spinning. Let's go. Pillow jacks up the tree, and Jingle goes down. And I'm like, he's been out for 20 minutes in December, and you've already hit him with a pillow. He's like 3/4 of the way up the tree. So it was kind of those Anchorman. I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta, the wife. I'm like, oh man, but in my head, I'm like, he chucked that thing. That is an 80 arm strength. If he's an adult, that is you're triple digits in that. I'm like, he throws that probably almost as far as my 5-year-old. But it was clearly not trying to go to the tree. So we're like, you can't, Owen, you can't, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn, man, he chucked that thing. And it was a good sized pillow too. So he got up a tree, like in a big sized tree. I was like, okay, well, we got to have we had to put a goalie net around Jingle so they couldn't touch him. But I was like, all right, we're off to a rip-roaring start with Jingle here. So we're scouting already for baseball. I like how all of our scouting never is football. JT can tell what our favorite sports is. It's always baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball. We're always on a baseball grade.
Yeah, it's always what could be potential. Yeah, 5 tools. It's always baseball.
He's a righty though. I don't think there's any question. I mean, there's always a little. You never know for sure at one. But I think if I had to put money on it, he's a righty. So that's fine.
Okay.
Just Garrett Cole's okay. I guess you'd be Garrett Cole. That's all right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's tell my oldest. So each Little League year, you'll be privy to this coming up. They do this kind of faux fundraiser. What they do is they just give you 10 cards to start with, and it's just keep them if you want, or sell them for $10 a pop if you want, and recoup a little bit of money back to your own self because you've already paid for the league, and so they don't expect any money back, which is kind of unique. And so we've historically just kept them, and usually they're nothing huge. Maybe there's DQ Blizzard BOGO and maybe I don't know, some taco place, but otherwise it's there's not a whole lot of stuff we use, but there's a DBAT one, and it literally is just there's 2 punch holes, and each one is 75 free swings in the batting cage at DBAT. So there's 150 per card times 10 of them. And I was just I'm looking at the card. I'm like, I don't know if I want to sell this to Grandma and Grandpa. Probably not worth it. They would totally do it, but probably not worth it to them.
Yeah.
Because most of the businesses are out this way and they live across, Tri-City.
And it feels like a lot of it's kids oriented anyway, so they'll just be doing with the kids that you have anyways,
obscure things. Yeah. And so I was just I'm just hang on to this and go to DBAT for 10 straight weeks at 150. That's even crazy. 75 swings is plenty for a visit. So you could go 20 straight weeks or twice a week for 10 weeks. So that was the plan. I looked at the calendar and I was just told my oldest is we need to start going to DBAT at least weekly. And we signed him up for the clinic they're going to do starting in January. But I was just it's free. We might as well just go. Let's just make a point to try to just go out there Saturday mornings or something.
Dang, he's getting those cuts in.
Yeah, I mean it was good. Last year was that first year where I felt like he was at the level where he could. I don't know. I forget what it starts at. 40 miles an hour is a little intimidating.
Okay.
And so I felt like when he was 7, it was like, okay, he can do this. I know he can. He just has to believe he can because there's no timing mechanism. Like all of a
Yes.
sudden, and just firing at you at 40, and like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
startling. So like, he's got
It's
timing.
actually, yeah, that first pitch, it'd be hard. I mean, obviously, you get to high enough level, you've taken swings in a cage, but being rusty myself, I would think like with a pitcher, you're like the ball's coming. When in the batting cages, because sometimes you see the arm come up, but a lot of them, those industrial ones, the ball just comes out. You're like, whoa, like that first one, you're like, okay, I gotta kind of get ready, and especially the higher miles or you get up, you're like, okay, like I need a little heads up here that a pitch is coming. So
Right.
I get that. I get that first one could be jarring.
Yep. So looking forward to that. But yeah, let's wrap up some football here. It's what mostly week 2 of most fantasy leagues. Week 1 just completing, so hopefully there was good luck by all double header Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
One scored some points, one didn't do a whole lot of anything.
I think the NFL. I was looking at it, and we'll get into pickups. But I was talking to my mom, and she was like, these games are kind of bad. And I was like, I'm looking at a ton of matchups, and I was like, the NFL is crazy smart because they knew what they were doing. 2 Monday night games. They know it's fantasy playoffs. They know it is generally, and they know it's just enough players because you don't want Bills Lions maybe necessarily in this game, but you have just enough players where because people are going to watch that game no matter what it's on, what day of the week it's on. So you're going to get the eyeballs anyways. But
mm-hmm.
they had just enough players. I bet viewership was crazy for this because there's just enough players on each team to be like, I gotta, Brock Bowers and Jefferson, and maybe I have DeAndre. There's it's not the Titans. The Titans were not playing today. It was like these teams weren't bad enough, where it's like, oh, there's just no point watching it, or there's like one team. It's like every team had like a little bit of guys, and then you're like, okay, I gotta kind of watch what's happening here. So I was like, okay, like I get what you're doing there. Well, and of course, when the season started, the Raiders also had Devontae Adams, and that has since changed. But yeah, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing, Vegas or NFL with these matchups. Not maybe the best matchups, but they were fantasy relevant matchups for a lot of games.
Yeah,
So
that's a really good point.
yeah. NFL didn't get a big business by being stupid. So it turns out.
All
But
right, I mean, there's quite a bit of scoring this week. I mean, obviously Josh Allen is the demigod. Shout out wanted to. I don't know if you guys are gonna see it anytime recently, but I'd say no urgent need to. I was not impressed. Just put it that way. Spoiler alert. But any quarterbacks worth adding for this next week 16 we're looking at, based on
maybe we
matchup
could just talk
or
about like the next 2 weeks, I guess. Yeah, like
yeah,
just
yeah.
call it 2 weeks probably. Man, if you told me we'd get 3 more weeks, I'd be like Matthew Stafford because he gets Arizona and Seattle the last 2 weeks, but he gets the Jets this next week. So I was like, oh, man. But I think one that might actually be good is Jared Goff. He plays it's more of that defense is decimated. They have nothing now. They've lost their starting running back. And so they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. And they then need to they're playing Chicago and the 49ers. 49ers, yes, but they're banging up and they got players quitting. So I'm all for like, hey, roll Jared Goff out there for the last 2 weeks. 72% rostered. Do you have anybody, JT, that's not like, Josh Allen level who to pick up?
Honestly, that kind of was the guy I would point it at because like James Winston is just throwing it a ton, but I kind of caught some of his game and he didn't play all of it, and I don't recall him getting injured during the game. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know he got pulled by the end of it. And as I'm trying to load it here, it's not loading, and I'm worried about my internet now.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did play the whole game, but I do think that point. I think the Kansas City game just more got away from them more than anything. but I don't disagree with that. Jameis Winston only being 20% rostered, but he does have Cincinnati awful and Miami awful. So I think that there is definitely room there to pick him up. The one that like I really want to do well is Bryce Young, but obviously fantasy wise, I don't think it's there yet. But it's been nice to see him start to play a little bit better. But I think with a bullet, it's got to be Jared Goff. It's got to be Jared Goff. Jared Goff has to be the guy. I think this is a big pickup. With if available in your league down the stretch, if you need a quarterback or if somebody's not cutting it for you, maybe you're rolling with Anthony Richardson or something like that. I think you've got to like my brother who's Geno Smith, Jared Goff, who am I rolling with? I think it's got to be Jared Goff at this point. You've got to roll Jared Goff the rest of the way because they're gonna be throwing it just a ton. They're just gonna be firing this thing. So, that's my quarterback guy. JT, you have any other quarterbacks or what running back are you looking at?
Ooh, running backs. So you mentioned the Titans earlier, and I have Pollard in a lot of leagues, and I picked up Tajay Spears, and he produced. Definitely, Pollard's been dinged up the last couple of weeks, questionable, no practicing, and then he's came out and balled out on the weekends. But Spears has been healthy, and I wanted that handcuff going into the playoffs, so that kind of worked out. And Spears was definitely involved in the passing game and had a touchdown, high scoring game this last weekend. So that's someone where I'm willing to see if Pollard maybe is starting to share the carries, or if he's too injured and they just don't want to ruin it, or they shut him down for the season, or whatever it may be. Spears is more than fully capable of like filling in, and could be a difference maker just depending on if your roster needs it. So that's where I'm at with the first running back that comes to mind. Do you have any running backs?
I have one that I like. Tank Bigsby of the Jags. Their quarterback, I keep saying I'm too much, but Trevor Lawrence went down, and they've just been feeding. Even with I keep saying it again. I keep catching myself now. Oh my goodness. Now I'm just trying not to say anything. Travis Etienne Jr. Playing. Tank Bigsby is still getting 18 and 11 touches, let alone receptions as well. So he's getting looked at quite a bit, and I think they're just going to lean into the passing game a ton. And he's less than 50% rostered. I think with what is on the waiver wire, if you're lucky enough to pick up a Zach Charbonnet with who knows what Kenneth Walker is going to look like, Tank Bigsby is probably the guy. There's just not a ton out there. We talk about that for running backs. Everybody knows that running back goes down, you pick up the remainers. I think maybe Isaac Guerrero is still like 16 touches, but everyone thought Patrick Taylor, including myself, was going to be the guy. Isaac plays, and Taylor gets literally no touches. So I think that I'm the guy who's rostering a number of running backs, so they need that last roster spot filled out from just anybody who's willing to get looks. And I think the most secure, there's a couple guys, you could go Javonte Williams of Denver, who's getting, 8 touches. Isaiah Davis is getting 6, 7 touches. Condre Miller, 10 touches for the Saints. But I think the real one is Tank Bigsby because he's going to get double-digit touches. What's he going to do with him? He's going to fall in the end zone one time. And I want to play running backs who get double-digit touches. I hope you do something with them, but double-digit touches leads me to believe that you're going to maybe fall in an end zone once. And if you have to play somebody, you're having to pick somebody up, having to start them, it's got to be Tank Bigsby, I think. Do you have anybody else, JT, or wide receivers you're looking at going at?
I got one more running back because
Okay.
Nick Chubb has not really looked himself, and I mean,
he broke his foot.
Did he? Okay, because he was limp
He
again.
broke his foot, in the game. So
I caught part of it, and I was just like, you know what? He's not all the way back. Looked weird, and then I guess in that game I saw him limping on one of the plays. But Jerome Ford is just automatically filled in. Had a big play in that second half. and a big run, and a decent matchup rest of the way at Cincinnati and then against Miami. He was already completely involved in like third down passing game, so for him to just get all the touches on first and second down now and just be that workhorse running back, a lot more opportunities and touches, more so than probably a couple of running backs out there that are being rostered and played. So I mean, I feel like Jerome Ford could also win you a week, or at least be maybe an upgrade over someone else who's splitting time that you might be considering, as your second running back. So that's another name to
Yeah,
think
there's
of.
a lot of guys that I feel like popped off randomly, like Justice Hill, Ty Johnson had a big game, but I'm just a little bit worried of like Ty Johnson had a ton of like pass catching yards, so I'm just like, is he gonna go for 5 catches and 114 yards? Like that's where most of his stuff came from. 2 rushes for 9 yards. I don't know if like I'm buying in that versus like your idea of Jerome Ford or Tank Bisbee. I want you to get 10 touches and anything else. I'll bank on the volume versus you busting a 80-yard run on your 3 touches. I just get that volume, and so I think I passed on I spaced on Ford, but yeah, he's got to be huge up there. They've just been so inept. I'd be like all about it if that offense was any sort of good. But like you said, Cincinnati is like it's a great way to get right. It's that you could do a lot worse than that.
Yeah,
I think wide receiver wise, I've been avoiding it for a while, but I think Adam Thielen is just I have a couple shares in I think it's oh gosh, I can't remember the wide receiver for them, but since Adam Thielen came back, he's taken over nicely there of getting at least 7 points a week. I mean, including the week 3 where he got hurt, he's had over 7 points all week where it's over 50 yards. Again, we're talking, second round of the fantasy playoffs, end of the season. You need a pickup. We're not talking like you're going to find a Justin Jefferson here, but he's gone 7, 20, 15, almost 8. And I'm like, if you need a wide receiver, that's hard to beat at 55% rostered. At the end,
right.
he's just kind of taken over that slot route, and Bryce, since he's been back, just trusts him. So, uh he's the classic floor play, and and again he's had 2 weeks of like 15 plus. He's gonna get you your 8 points, your 7 points in your standard league or whatever. So, but like if you need a boom bust, there's other guys we could talk about here. But like I think Adam Thielen's like your he's not going to give you a goose egg. He's not going to go 2 for 80 and a touchdown. He's going to be like, I'm going to get you your 6 targets, 70 yards.
Yeah,
There you go. And I'll take that all day. I got to the playoffs. I need my stars to produce in the playoffs, and I need to not have zeros in my other categories. And I think Adam Thielen's perfect for that.
yeah. Cooper Cup. Sorry, what?
Man. And again, I was a little. We talked about this, JT. I was a little early on my Tim Patrick call for the Detroit Lions.
Right.
And now this guy, I was 1 week ahead, and now this guy can't stop scoring touchdowns. So there we go. Tim Patrick also 2% rostered. He's getting 7 and 8 targets the last couple weeks and 3 touchdowns. Now, obviously, he won't score a touchdown every week, but it's a Detroit Lions offense, and I talked about picking up Jared Goff, and they're going to be chucking it now that they lose to Montgomery. Maybe he does score a touchdown every week the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I'm not. It's not impossible. And at 2% rostered, again, he's getting 8 targets a game. Let's go.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Jalen McMillan, Tampa Bay Bucks, wide receiver number 2 on that team. At the last 2 weeks, man, he's shown up and shown out. 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks on 13 targets. And that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense goes. It scores. Baker's looking like he sputtered there, and rightfully so when you lose Godwin for the year and Evans for like a whole month or so. But otherwise, going into what I think week 8 or so, Baker was top QB in fantasy points. So got back on track. Evans is healthy again. Doesn't need K Dotton anymore, although that was a sweet, nice month of like
Little run, yeah.
late October all through November of K Dotton tight end fantasy. But yeah, Jalen McMillan is there. He's been the go-to. Again, 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks against Vegas and the Chargers, and that team is scoring a ton, and now they get Dallas. So, and following week Carolina. So, again, I think they're a pass-heavy offense, and they kind of, you don't really know what to expect out of that running back, because that full strength it's a 3-headed attack, and you just, again, you would, if you roster Bucky or was it White,
yes,
so it's just like roll the dice, but the Bucks are going to pass it a lot, and McMillan could be that random flex that like gets you a nice at least 10 points or more, and it seems like super involved, and as of recently, it's like, what have you done for me recently? Yeah, I've scored 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. So.
I was going to ask you about him actually, specifically the next one you were going to, and it was good you brought him up, because people are going to be like, you're talking about guys who are 10 and 3% rostered. And my response is, I don't care what the roster says. I want to know what your targets are. Like, again, I don't need a Deshaun Jackson back in the highlight days where he's getting 3 targets and turning 2 of them for touchdowns. Those guys, they just don't exist that much anymore. I want volume. Are you getting targets? And these guys, like you said, JT, he wasn't doing much, and then boom, 7 targets a game. Tim Patrick wasn't doing much, 8 targets a game last couple weeks. I'm like, it's turning into who we wanted these players to be, and it's just like, or maybe not them specifically, but like the targets are coming, and I don't care what you did in the previous 10 weeks. Right now, I need to win next week, and it's trending like these guys were averaging like 3 to 2 targets for 13 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks they're averaging 8 and 7. And it's not a randomness. Clearly something's switching. And for you, it's for your guy, clearly it's just like he's taken the number 2 spot. Like there's been like some, Shepard is in there, and he kind of, and then he's like, no, it's mine. And then the last 2 weeks it's like, okay, here you go. And it's just he's just going off to the races now. And so it's just like clearly there. But like I talked about with Tim Patrick, like he runs the routes that Jared Goff likes to throw and Ben Johnson likes to call, and I think it's just getting on the field. Right. And he's on the field now, and they're just chucking it, and he's scoring touchdowns. And so I'm like, these targets are, I feel like with both of these guys are going to continue, and that's all I care about. And we're talking about, like, again, you have some players to get to the fantasy playoffs, semifinals probably in your league. We're not telling you to pick up the Justin Jeffersons. You should have already had those guys. We're talking like a flex. You need a flex. We need somebody to get you some points, and it's sheerly volume. These guys have targets. And finding targets for free at this point, like you're getting 8 and 7 targets for free on the waiver wire at this point of the season, that's all I care about. And let's do it. Like, for example, Christian Watson, 60% roster. Everyone's like, oh man, like this is great. He has less targets than either of our guys last 2 weeks. I like, let's just keep going. Like, I think that these 2 guys are. It's funny that you said you're a guy, because I was like, I'm going to probably pick that guy up too. And here we are. I think between those 2 and Adam Thielen, it's depending on what you need. If you're a little bit behind and you think you're the underdog, probably pick up one of our 2 guys. If you're the lead dog and you need a flex, probably pick up Adam Thielen. He's going to get you that floor. He's not going to burn it. He's not going to get you a 0. He's going to get you your 8 points that you need, and your other guys are going to do something. But you need a touchdown. I'm betting on probably the 2 guys we mentioned versus Adam Thielen. And it's how you play it.
Yeah.
Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I like that. I mean, man, looking at just target shares over the last 4 weeks and fantasy point output, and I got Debo on one of these teams, and I'm just like, I've had him on the bench the last couple weeks. I'm just like, he seems to me that I feel like I saw a Facebook reel or something about how poorly he does when there's weather that's, not sunny and 65 or indoors. So I don't know. I might just go on the Weather Channel app and see what's happening in Miami this next weekend, and if it's rainy at all, and like I don't know, that whole team, that locker room, it doesn't seem like it's very healthy right now. It's just I know it's Debo, but man, it's just like, yeah, what have you done for me lately? Not a heck of a lot. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's a handful of targets, and it's a handful of yards to go with it. So it's
We
that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the tough decisions come into play, and
well, like we look at it this way, like Mike Evans, AJ Brown are in the same realm as the two guys we mentioned. Like they're in the same area in targets the last 2 weeks. Now,
mhm.
I'm not saying those guys are as good, but I'm like, if you're just even for a couple weeks over a course of a couple weeks in the same realm as those guys, like we got a stew going. Like just give me that for the rest of the couple weeks. So let's go. So I'm looking at volume. That's volume. Let's go.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know what to do with defenses. JT. Tight ends. Brock Bowers still the goat. There we covered tight ends. I mean, is there a tight end you want to look at, JT? I mean, I don't.
I think most of them we've either touched on
Yeah.
or you know who they are. Um, I think the only one that you may have, out there forgotten about, I mean, Hunter Henry. He's gonna boatload of targets. It's
I keep
just
going to
like
the well,
he's
back and
just
forth.
having such tough matchups. I mean, because
Yeah.
otherwise we're talking about the same. I'm just looking
Yeah.
for a roster percentage that's low, and like
I like
Johnny
Pat
Smith.
Fairmouth at 51. He's
There
putting
you
up some
go.
numbers now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one too. Because I'm like Johnny Smith. People figured it out. He's 84% roster in Yahoo. So it's just kind
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
what? Who haven't we told you yet? Like, I don't know. People get desperate with tight end. Obviously, probably shouldn't need to be said, but I'll say it out loud just to make sure. Is make sure you see what happens after Wednesday morning for all those free agents that get picked up. If anyone gets crazy and drops someone like that, tight end
Yep.
usually is kind of one of the first to go if they have to make a tough decision. And I
Yep.
got Hawkinson the other week, and it was like a bye-week crunch type of vibe, and I was just like, well, thank you very much. Again, I know he hasn't had a crazy year. He didn't, play until what, week 9 or 10, but
9. Yeah.
he's good for, anywhere from probably like 7 to 9 targets on average a week, and that's a, you know, highly involved offense, and
He's
it's
averaging about 7 to 8 points a game on average,
yeah, I
which
mean,
I'll take
take
that as my
that
tight end. Are you kidding me?
tight
Like,
end baseline. So,
yeah, like that's. I mean, you're talking top 8 tight end if you average 7 points a week for me.
mhm,
Like that's no joke. Like absolutely not a joke. Like I'm like my bar is like, did you get enough points for a touchdown? I'm like 6. Yes,
okay.
good week. Below meh. But like even the meh, you're just like I hope we get something. Like you just talked about Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry just got 4 last week. So I'm just and I agree, pick up Hunter Henry because I go that well all the time. I still roster Hunter Henry in a league, but I'm just like
Mhm.
I was got 4 and I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. But you're telling me you got T.J. Hawkinson on the free for like 7.5 points a week. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That's a solid lock it in. I don't have to look at tight end the rest of the year. Boom. So that's nice. Defenses, man, is there some defenses that what matchups are we looking at here at the end of the year? Is kind of what I there's got to be a nice one.
I don't
I thought of one.
mind. Oh yeah, you got one.
Oh no, I lost it. I was trying to think.
I don't mind Green Bay. Um, Obviously they showed up and spanked the Seahawks, and they've got New Orleans upcoming.
Third string quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, and then they've got Minnesota in Minnesota,
But it's
division
not a
rival.
powerhouse offense. It's a good team, not a powerhouse
Yeah,
offense.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if you said that was in Green Bay, I'd be more into that.
it's still a
Um,
good matchup. Yeah,
but yeah, still like decent, but
I,
at least for this one next week, that
I
seems
got one.
okay.
Um, Good defense too by advanced metrics. Chargers, Denver, and if this goes all the way till if you play at the end too. Denver, New England, Vegas. So that's one you can pick up and just lock it in for the playoffs. So I think and they're playing for a playoff spot too in seeding. So it's not like you're gonna have any of your Bosas or anything like that sit out unless they're hurt like always. But I think that one's like for sure pretty good. Lock it up. Definitely not the Jets. I just looked who they play. Rams, Buffalo, Miami. No, absolutely not. None of those. So who else? Who else we got here? That's like I'm looking at like the mid pickup like teams.
Is Tampa
No,
Bay?
definitely not the 49ers.
I can't see who
What's up?
Tampa Bay. I don't know who they play week 18, but they've got Dallas and Carolina.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Carolina is showing strides, but they're not. Yeah, they're not. Yeah. The question with Tampa Bay comes more to like how much you trust Tampa Bay, like because the matchups are good, but like do they have anybody to do anything? But I think you're right. I think 40% rostered. I think that's pretty good. And then even if you do play week 18, it's the Saints.
Is it okay? See, that's
so
one I couldn't see.
I think that's a pretty good matchup because they don't have. I mean, what you're playing Cooper Rush, Bryce Young, who's playing better, but still, there's just not a lot there. And whoever the Saints play football quarterback, I mean, they've played 3 guys last week, or it seems like, or something like that. So I don't know. So I like that one a lot. I like the Bucks. I like the Chargers. I'm trying to see who anybody else here like worth getting excited for. No, not really. And we're looking at obviously a couple weeks at least. I don't want to pick a one and done. I want to on a couple weeks here. I think that's pretty much it. What do you think? Oh man, what do you think about the Lions? Play at Chicago, great. Championship week. You could probably stream again this week, but they play at 49ers, and the 49ers aren't like some powerhouse right now. They're going through some stuff. They're not the 49ers of 49ers. Trust me, the guy I played in fantasy has 5 49er players, and I won, and they had an awful week. So are you risking it, JT? You risking playing the 49ers in 2 weeks? Because I think they're not officially eliminated because if Seattle had won, they would have been eliminated, but they're all but eliminated. And they probably will be this week. You risking it, 49ers?
I probably wouldn't.
I was going to say, I guess now I've thought about it. It's not even so much the 49ers. It's that the Lions are so banged up at this point.
Yeah, I think it comes back to trusting the defense. It's not necessarily.
Yeah. I think if you told me they're healthy, absolutely, I would probably wouldn't think about it. But it's just they're so beat up. I don't know if you've seen the list of that defense that's been hurt, but they just don't got anybody. They just really don't. And I think that's more the issue. Is not to think about it. I just don't. They lost 2 other defensive players during that game for the season, and I'm just like, you just can't keep doing it anymore. So, but yeah, that's the rough part of it. So, yeah, I take that one back. But I like what we said. The Chargers and the Bucks are probably the 2. If you got to roll with someone for their entire 2 weeks, roll with one of those 2. Mm-hmm. They just have such good juicy matchups. Yeah, both 53% rostered and under too. So, yeah. I like that. Anything else, JT? You got anything else?
No, I think that about covers it for definite ones I wanted to point out. I think we covered most of the names that were going through my head coming off week 15 results.
Well, I'll wrap it up with some Dad Bod Player of the Weeks. I'm going to give 1 B. I'll call it 2 because I'd say second, but I still love it. Dan Skipper, touchdown, Lions. It was painful to kind of watch how slow he caught it. I was like, oh, please get in. And it's like, guys are closing on him. It's a great play call, and he's got tons of daylight, and it still wasn't almost quite enough. I was like, oh, they're catching him real fast. Like, these linebackers are way faster than that poor lineman is, but then he kind of legs taken out and falls in the end zone. I'm like, okay, there we go. If that was longer than like a 3-yard touchdown pass, I would be like, oh, no. But the real guy, the big fella, DeAndre Swift, 362, returned a fumble. JT, I don't know if you saw it. I don't remember how far it was. Here, can you share your screen? Can I share my screen here?
Should be able to, or
so at least you can see it on here. But he returns this quite a bit, and he takes it from Joe Burrow.
Oh man,
on this, and he's rumbling.
Stiff arm.
That is a big league stiff arm. Derrick Henry, get out of the way, son. like Like Derrick Henry, you might be 250, but you ain't 350. Like that.
Jeez.
That's a big league stiff arm right there.
I
Like
don't know if he could have gone much further. He was starting to
no,
show
oh
a
no,
lot of arm movement there.
oh yeah, no. He was. It's the old like I'm
Right.
getting real tired as your arms start going. But I'm glad you caught the stiff arm because I was gonna bring it up. I was like, he stiff armed that guy into oblivion. Like that poor guy who's I don't remember what it was. It was like a running back or something like that. I was like somebody who's not. Let me see here. I can't. But it was pretty great to watch him all 364 of them rumble for a couple yards after literally just taking it from Joe Burrow. So that was even the best part. It wasn't like the fumble was on the ground. He's just like, this is mine, yoink, and just took it and left.
Yeah, little
Loved it.
little
Oh no,
jab
it
step.
looks like it was a no, it's a lineman. He stiff arms a lineman. Oh man, yeah. Okay, there we go. Man, that's incredible to see. But yeah, he's got to be the big fellow putting in the miles. Putting in the miles of the gym. I appreciate it.
Yeah, his lateral quickness was more impressive than the north south, but still, that was a big
Yeah,
that was a big stiff arm. That was grown man.
that was grown man strength right there. Yeah, absolutely, and he's So I appreciate it.
Nice. Yes, Dad Bod Player of the Weeks. Well done. All right, well, tweet at us. We're on the X Fantasy Dad Pods. If you've got any questions for your fantasy football start sit advice, anything like that, let us know. We'll help you out. But otherwise, this might be it for fantasy football. And the MLB hot stove is cooking up, and like we kind of prefaced the beginning of the episode, is baseball is starting to definitely be on the mind again. Took a mini break, but it's never forgotten. We're
It's
baseball
not.
guys. But
I think we're 102, one. I don't remember how many days away from baseball starting. So we're about there. We're about there. We're getting close.
oh, there you go.
The
Yeah.
itch is getting itched. Don't talk about that in my house right now. Actually, to take it back.
Oh.
Oh man, full circle.
Okay. All right. Well, he's Sean. I'm JT. As always, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. Take care. Be well. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.